Episode number 11, Leadership Gems with Jim Wideman. Here we go, tribe.
This is the Kidman Tribe podcast. We're helping you as children's pastors, volunteers, and leaders plan, create, and execute incredible, life-changing kids worship experiences at your church. With practical tips, coaching, training, and resources from the best in kids ministry around the world. It's time to join the tribe.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Kidman Tribe podcast. I'm your host, Jason Noble, and I'm so glad you're here. Hey, I want to tell you about an incredible resource. Today's sponsor of the podcast is 1230 Kids Custom Media. 1230 Kids has produced content for some of the leading kids ministry and artists in the industry today. We are the industry go-to for folks like Awana, Answers in Genesis, Seeds Family Worship, and more. And I want to tell you how you can tap into this great talent for your church or your ministry. 1230 Media can produce nearly any graphic design or video that you have from scratch, tailor-made for your kids' ministry or your church. You can order a single project, or you can save money with retainer options. 1230 Kids has some of the best designers and videographers in the business today. For more information on 1230 Kids custom designs, you can go to 1230kids.com. That's 1230kids.com and check out all of the great options for custom media. Hey, this week on the show, I'm so excited to welcome the one and only Jim Wideman. I promise that you're not going to want to miss this incredible interview. Don't miss a moment of it. Share it with everyone you know. Jim is one of the veterans of kids ministry and has encouraged and trained kids ministry leaders for decades. Jim has a unique ability to help build the local church by strengthening the family, empowering leaders, and building great teams. He's a pastor, a speaker, an author, a ministry coach, has more than 45 years of experience serving in children's ministry and in all areas of the local church, including 17 years leading one of the largest children's ministries in the United States. Jim has trained thousands of children's ministry leaders in the U.S. and around the world, and you're going to enjoy him so much. He's worked with 6 different thriving churches in the span of almost 5 decades, and he's published over 15 books. Jim currently serves as the executive pastor, operations pastor at the Belonging Church in Nashville, Tennessee. Jim and his wife, Julie, have been married for 43 years and have 2 wonderful daughters and have 3 of the cutest grandsons ever. We're going to jump right back in with Jim in just a moment.
Hey guys, Grant Murphy here from the 1230 team. For years, we've worked with some of the largest kids ministries in the country. Folks like Awana, Answers in Genesis, Seeds Family Worship, Yancey, Doorpost Songs, Go Curriculum, Grow Kids, Worship Team Kids, and more. We've taken our experience working with these ministries and launched an entire kids brand called 1230 Kids. With this brand, we have launched an entire ready-made media library completely dedicated to children's pastors and leaders. In the library, we're producing hundreds of mini-movies, countdowns, games, kids series boxes, packs, social media content, and much, much more. If you're a ministry that serves lots of churches yourself, we offer custom media services to bring your projects to life and can produce about any graphics or video need you may have. We are also committed to bringing you free and affordable training to help you enhance your kids' worship experiences with our Kidman blog, books, and other resources that are bringing you knowledge and ideas for leading experts, church staff, and volunteers in the trenches of kids ministry. Tell your kids leaders about us today. Tell them to go to 1230kids.com. That's 1230kids.com.
Well, hello, everybody. It's Jason Noble with the Kidman Tribe podcast. I am so overly excited today to have a special guest, Jim Wideman, here with us on the podcast. Jim is a veteran. He has been around children's ministry for many years. And I look back when I was first getting started as a children's pastor, and he was a go-to then. He's still a go-to. Jim, welcome to the podcast.
Man, it is so great to be with you, Jason. And yeah, for almost 5 decades, it has been just fun to just walk out this calling in the children's ministry and kind of see it from where it kind of started to where it is today. And, so many things I didn't see coming. And,
right.
It's just been great to when I first started, really churches over 1,500 were the only ones that had a children's pastor, and there wasn't that many of us then. And kind of got, late 70s, you got to know everybody that was in children's ministry, regardless of denomination or different things, because it's just so rare to have a children's person. Right. And then today, you look at churches of 200 and 300. Having a full-time person on staff working with children, that's something, I didn't see coming. And it's just a blessing to just see where this whole KidMin tribe has grown into.
It's really incredible. And to see the children's pastors and leaders and volunteers, I mean, it's just amazing to see how big of a tribe really focused on how reaching kids has become. And really, you're a trailblazer. I mean, you were one of the very first children's pastors that were kind of on the scene. And if I remember right, were you part of that first group that started CPC way back in the day?
We were. My daughter Yancey was being born that year. And so I got invited. It was 7 people in a hotel.
Wow.
And ended up going. But it was kind of, when the Assemblies of God, there used to not be anybody over children's ministry. There was one guy in the Sunday school office. And he kind of started this list. And once you got on that list, we did a meetup at the Fellowship of Christian Magicians Conference. Okay. In Winona Lake, Indiana, and we met at a Pizza Hut one night after the service. And that was kind of the starting of everything with the Assemblies of God, and as far as having a national children's department and those kind of things. Ron Clark was the guy in the Sunday school department that just had a burden to help children's pastors. And at that time, there were less than 250 internationally in the Assemblies of God anywhere in the world that worked full-time or part-time with kids. And that was 1978. And so there were some of us that knew of other folks just from going to the Christian Magicians Conference there, the International Brotherhood of Christian Magicians. So it was sounded like a cult, but it was really a bunch of clowns and jugglers and all kind of folks that kind of a collection of carnies and children's pastors. And it was a fun time, and man, to see where everything is now, it's amazing.
It really is. I mean, and so what are you up to these days? Love to hear what God's put on your heart and what you're doing.
Yeah, I'm still coaching children's leaders, executive pastors, senior pastors, working with whole churches as a consultant with Jim Wideman Ministries, still writing books. I am the executive operations pastor at the Belonging Church in Nashville. And so I am taking care of business, doing operations. There's HR, there's legal, there's finance.
Wow.
There's facilities, there's vehicles, and all the stuff that a lot of people don't sign up to do. But it's,
right.
It's been great. And this day and time, who knew we were going to need security in our churches and all those things? But it's been a wonderful journey. And one of the great things is children's ministry taught me administration, and it raised my leadership. And so, I started with 7 kids at my very first church. And when I was by church number 4, I was lit. When I got there, the church was about 1,200. When I left, we were in that 16 to 18,000 range. And I got to lead a children's ministry of 5,000 kids and be a part of that. Literally grew with it. Every week I worked at that church, as largest church I've ever been part of. And I just didn't tell anybody. I didn't know what I was doing. I just
make it till you make it.
Yeah, that's it, man. So I just was good for another week, and it's, I really had to grow to not be outgrown. And it was a great thing. And so really through children's ministry, I was still a children's pastor, but I've also always been kind of I've had everybody's job when they left until we hired somebody else. And so was a utility guy. And I really, during 2020, a situation happened in our church where we needed somebody in that operations role. And so, I'll always be a part of children's ministry, through coaching. You get called about somebody looking for somebody to join staffs. And, I still hang out with children's pastors, still do coffee and hang out. And when I go to another city, I'll just tweet what coffee shop I'm at, and I ask kid men leaders if they want to hang out, and they still do. And so it's been a great 48 years.
48 years. Well, and I love the idea that utilitarian, like, hey, wherever we fit best at the moment, we're going to serve, and as an executive pastor of operations, man, you can impact kids ministry in a powerful way, from the top down, and that's a powerful thing. And since I have known you, you've done coaching, and I've seen the results of that. If you I want to encourage people that are listening, if you need a coach, Jim is your guy to go to. I think he does such a great job, 48 years of experience, and just, seeing that happen. It's really cool to be able to do that. How do people connect with you on the coaching side of things?
Yeah. JimWideman.com is where everything is located. And I still check my emails. I still do all those things. And so just right there is a place you can connect. And so it's a great thing. But, everybody, we're sitting here talking after the NBA final, and folks are talking about Steph Curry and mentioning him with names like LeBron and all these other great Kobe and Shaq and all these folks. And the one thing they all had in common, they had a coach.
Yes.
And everyone is better with a coach. And
totally,
it's one of those things that, my goal when I left church number 4, the Lord told me, you're going to spend the rest of your life putting into younger people. That's age as well as experience. And so that's been, what, the calling I've been walking out on that coaching thing. And to think, I've now been coaching folks for almost 30 years.
Wow.
And so that's been a great thing. And, let me say this about what we were talking about earlier. If you're a children's pastor, preschool person, next gen director, that's not in the Bible.
Right.
The best New Testament word is shepherd.
Yes.
And, when you look at the fivefold ministry gift, there's the prophet that's set out from the rest of the hand, or the apostle. Then there's the prophet that points things out to the body of Christ. Yeah. There's the evangelist that kind of sticks out from all the rest. And I added this part. He also offends people.
Right. Because he leaves, right?
Yeah. He just makes a mess and leaves. And then this is where we fit in. Is the ring finger, that's the church, that's the pastor. He's in charge or married to the church, the bride of Christ. And so that's where we all fit in, is under the pastor's gift. There's the teacher, it's the little finger. That's the only finger that will fit in your ear. And that's what the teacher's gift does.
Right.
But we all come under that shepherd, that under shepherd.
Yes.
And I realized years ago, I'm not anointed because I've only been called to work with kids. I've been called to help my pastor.
Yeah.
And he already has something to do on Sunday mornings. So he can't be everywhere in the church at one time. And so most of the areas of my life that pastors I've worked for and then other pastors in the kingdom, they've needed help with children's ministry. And so that's been the thing I've helped with. But they'll also help me if it's HR, if it's security issues, if, youth pastor. I've been a youth pastor, I've been minister of music, been a lot of different things and for different seasons. But that anointing my anointing comes from helping a pastor. And that's the thing I think we get sometimes a little confused on, whose vision is it? Well, it's your pastor's.
Yes.
And I get to help run that and facilitate that. But, so a little different take than a lot of people have, but it's been fun for almost 5 decades.
Hey, that is, and it's so true. My dad told me when I was first getting into ministry is make it so they can't live without you. And
that's it.
When your pastor's looking at you going, man, that guy can fit in wherever I need him to fit, or that lady can fit wherever I need her to fit, just like you said, that is just so valuable to a pastor. And I've been a lead pastor now. And so looking at that, man, is such an important aspect of really seeing a good team come together. It's not my vision as a children's pastor. It's the church's vision as a whole. And how do I help move that forward? I think you wrote a new book, didn't you? Is there a new book
I have
come out with?
Well, it's really an old book that's a new book. I had this was one of the books that the original book, Children's Ministry Leadership, the You Can Do It Guide, turned 22. And I started looking at it, and because of digital press and stuff, the publishing company I was with, they were just going to have it on digital and not update it. And, it was just old. Somebody read a book that talks about cassettes and, all these different things that are just so dated. But as I started reading it, I realized two things. That's one of the great things that happened at COVID is the rights to that book came back to me.
Nice.
That publisher was willing to do what they hadn't been willing to do for a few years as I was trying to update it. And when I started looking at it, I realized two things. Number one, I'm not the same leader I was when I wrote that book. I actually had led so much longer after this first book got published. And I wasn't the same leader, and I didn't lead in the way that the book was talking about. So rather than update it, I had to just totally rewrite it.
Wow.
And it has been just a labor of love to be able to update that. And, it's been a lot of fun. I've also, with this, it's first made an audio book.
Wow.
First time I've ever done that. And, I used to think, readers are leaders and you need to read. And I realized that, in this day and time, everything I do is different than what I did 22 years ago. And so we've got it on digital format, old-fashioned, hold it in your hand, and also on all the different platforms for audiobooks. And so It's been a real blessing to all of this stuff. And so it's called, the new title is Authentic Leadership That Lasts.
Oh, that's good.
And so it's been good. And just a lot of things, practical things that I feel like, talks about thinking like a leader, leadership from the inside out, your role as a leader, managing your time, your roles, priorities, and goals, delegation, maintaining your integrity, problem solving, making difficult decisions, attracting volunteers, and again, how to become a next level leader. And also, everybody loves to hear the big mistakes you've made. And, I've got a chapter.
You haven't made any mistakes, have you?
Oh, let me tell you. Lessons I've learned the hard way.
Right.
So a lot of different things. Real proud of the book.
And you should be.
It's been good. And so it's just, there's 8. I've got 8 more books that I know I'm supposed to do.
Wow.
And so, everybody's always saying, what are you reading? And I say, well, I'm not really reading. I'm just writing.
Writing.
And so I set an appointment to write. John Maxwell, they asked him, how did you write all those books? He said, every Thursday from 7 to 11. 7 in the morning to 11, I set a time to write. And when I read that, I started doing the same thing. And so I write every week.
That's
and work on some of those things. And so it's been great.
That is great. And your daughter is Yancey, which we've had on here.
Oh, yeah.
She's
Yancey's
awesome.
tearing it up. Her new book, couldn't be more proud. And it's just, it's helping a lot of people. And
it is.
She's been the most fun to raise and be a part of, her life. And now watching those boys of hers just are I don't know how you could do this, but I hear everybody saying, I wish I could have those grandkids first.
Right.
I actually am glad I had the first bunch.
Oh, wow.
But, they all took me to lunch, the grands and the girls, my daughters. I'm a girl dad, but we're just spitting out grandsons like crazy. I got 3 grandsons.
That's
2
so
girls
good.
and 3 boys. And so it's been fun. And we did a little pre-Father's Day lunch today. And when you got kids, older kids, grown kids, and they still want to be in your life and hang out with you, it's a blessing.
It really is. We're in line. My daughter's having our first grandchild, so I'm gonna get to be a granddad, and haven't decided yet. I'm not gonna be grandpa, but I'm still working on that to get through. But we're excited about that. So I want to dig in.
Let me tell you this: I've heard come up with a name that a 12-year-old would not be embarrassed to tell his friends.
Ooh, that's good. That's good.
And so. Yeah,
I think it might be Poppy. I think that's what we're going to be working on. So
I'm G. I'm just G.
Hey, I like G. That's you know what? I might snag that from you and just act like I figured it out on my own.
Yeah, I wanted to be G Diddy, and the girls said no, and they shot that down.
I love it. Well, thank you. I mean, for pouring into just the amount of leadership, and when you see the books and now Yancey and just everything. I mean, you guys leave such a legacy. What I want to ask you is one simple question.
Okay.
How do you last for the long haul? One simple question, but a lot of different answers. Give us 1 or 2 thoughts on, in ministry, how are you in there for the long haul? They say about only 10% of pastors retire as pastors is what the latest stat I think is.
Yeah.
How do we stick in there? What's the key?
I think the main thing is to make the main thing the main thing. And that is to love Jesus with all your heart, all your soul. There's a question that I have come up about every 3 weeks on my calendar. It's just a recurring question that says, do you love Jesus more today than you've ever loved him in your life? And if the answer's anything but yes, you're the only one that can do something about it.
Yep.
And so I still need a savior. My number one is my relationship with Christ. My greatest sermon and my number 2 is my family. And if I win every kid in the world to Jesus and my own don't have a relationship with the Lord and a relationship with me, I've got priorities. I want to date. I want to be married to my family and date the church.
That's good.
Not married to the church and date them. And so, that's the thing that is real important to me. And so I think your calendar ought to reflect your priorities.
Yes.
And if you can't look at your calendar and see the time you have with the Lord, time you have with your family, and then how you support and help your pastor.
Yeah.
If I'm solving my pastor's problems, then I really don't have a lot of problems.
Right.
And it's one of those things that, you've got to live by priority. And for me, I've been willing to reinvent myself. I work in most of the people I work with, I'm 40 years older than them. I'm 20 years older than my pastors. And, I have learned to speak millennial. I have learned to, rather than just come in and start telling people what to do, as most boomers do, I ask, what do y'all think? Again, and I found that, there's a lot of different ways to do things. As long as it doesn't break Levitical law, I'm fine with doing it different than how I do it.
That's good.
And letting folks, have some ownership in how we lead and linking arms leading rather than just everything being top down like it usually is. COVID taught us all this, but you can be effective and not be at the office.
Oh, that's good.
And in this day, I still like to be alone because of my age when I work, but I will watch the folks that are on our team, and they'll just sit at the big table and talk and throw out ideas, and it's totally different than how my brain processes.
Right.
But I appreciate those things, and I'm willing to learn a different way of doing things.
Right. That's
to
so
be
good.
able to relate to people and lead. And so I think that's the main thing. Also, if old Jim could tell young Jim something, just take your time off.
Yes.
Don't stay and work. One of the big changes with grandkids, I'm so much quicker to close that laptop, not touch it when they're over here. Yeah. And I wish I spend a lot of time with my kids, but I wish I had been a little quicker to shut that laptop. Again, it's you just got to. I think it's amazing when a family church allows for family time. So I fight for the family, not only in the pulpit, but also in my actions, and want to lead my family in a way that other people can see my example. I think, really the best thing, and we talk about this in the book, the best definition of leadership is just setting an example of doing things right.
It's good.
And so that's been really my quest through all these years, and just looking, I laugh because we have a farmer's market in our little town here in Tennessee, outside of Nashville and Murfreesboro, and everybody just flocks to it on Saturday. Why? Because fruit from this season is better than fruit from a past season.
Oh, that's good.
And anything canned, anything frozen is fruit from another season.
That's so good.
And no matter how you doctor it, how you season it, it'll make it better, but it's still not as flavorful and as good as fresh fruit. So I don't want to. It's kind of funny. People say, "Aren't you Jim Wideman?" And I said, "Well, I used to be Jim Wideman." And Brother Jim, is that you? No, bro died. I was Jim. And it's one of those things that fruit from this season, and what does that need to look like? the sad thing, Jason, is so many people that are leading in children's ministry right now aren't even working in a church,
Wow.
let alone working with kids. And so, I had a pastor one time ask me, he said, how long, he said, have you ever thought about, working for a parachurch ministry or leaving the church like a lot of people do? And he said, how long would you be happy telling people what you used to do?
Oh, wow.
Rather than telling people what you do. And so that's been, my theme throughout this. I'm so thankful to still be working in a local church. I've never found anything as great as a local church to disciple people. And I know there's been church hurt in everybody's life. But at the same time, I haven't found anything better than local church to grow people and make decisions. And I love the church. And how can you love? I've heard people say, well, I love Jesus, I just don't like the church.
Right.
Well, you think about it, you're not going to hang out with somebody that maybe like you, but they don't like your spouse.
Right.
And so,
work.
I don't hang out with those people.
Yeah.
If they don't like Jesus' bride, I don't buy, well, I just really love Jesus, I just don't like his bride.
Exactly.
And so, that's kind of where I am in this.
Yeah, and I think anybody that hears that's going to go, okay, we're going to go head to head. You don't like my bride? I mean, come on.
That's it.
But you bring up an interesting point about seasons. And I think that as I've watched children's ministry, I've been in it for about 27 years now. And I've watched people will there's different seasons. So year one has a season, year two has a season, year three is a season where it seems like you have to push through, kind of reinvent yourself. Year 5, year 4, year 5, and leaders will leave in some of those tougher seasons and not push through. So I've talked to leaders who say, well, I've been in children's ministry for 15 years. And my question is, what's the longevity in each position? Because if you've only been in 3 positions for 5 years each, then really you've been in kids ministry for 5 years. Yeah. Those are the seasons. Yeah. How do you push through that? How do you work through that idea of, seasons? And do you think that's right on?
Yeah, I do. I know I started looking at, it's kind of like if you know someone that's had multiple divorces.
Right.
They were married to the first one the longest. And then it got easier and easier to leave. Yep. And I know in my life, church number 1, I was there for about 6 years. Church number 2, I was there for 4 years. Church number 3, I was there for 3.5 years.
Oh, wow.
And I said, Lord, I've developed a pattern. And I realized one thing that me and my wife did that I didn't do with the pastors I served is I didn't allow, my wife can have a bad day and I don't threaten to leave her. She doesn't threaten to leave me.
Right.
And, but sometimes in church work, you just have a bad day. We've all felt like, Lord, I'd love to just fight the devil and not the people I work with.
Right.
And it's one of those things that we've all had a bad day, but we don't allow those we work with to have a bad day.
Right.
And I think when I learned to allow leaders to have a bad day, and I didn't let it upset me. I'm there to serve my pastor, and he needs to chew on somebody's butt, I've got a big one. So chew on, buddy. And so it's one of those things that you just let them have a bad day.
Yeah.
And that's been the thing, and that next church I went to, I was there for 17 years. And so I was able to beat that because I determined it. And, all of us have felt like quitting. But quitting is not going to speed up where you're headed to.
Right.
It's just going to slow it down. And, grass is greener where you fertilize it.
Right.
And where you water it and where you take care. It's just not on the other side of the fence. Right. And I found that when I work on my attitude, when I become, when I work on my attitude, then it's easier for me to fertilize and plant that grass on my side of the fence.
That's good.
And that's been, this whole thing of, just I'm at the age where, I'm closer to 70 than I am 60. So you start doing the math.
Yeah.
And when my pastor says things like, 2030 or 2035, and when you're planning, I do the math and think, well, I remember one day he said that, and then he looked at me and said, "Sorry, Jim," because I'd be dead. Even if you live to be 100, I don't plan on working as hard as I do.
Right.
And so it's one of those things that, those seasons, we don't read the word and we don't think like the word. And all I know is in old age, I'm still going to be green, bear much fruit. I'm going to be plant, I don't need to worry about retirement so much. In my Bible, when Jesus was done with you, he took you to heaven.
Yeah.
And, and so it's one of those things that every season has been different.
Yeah.
And, have you ever read Halftime by Bob Buford?
I haven't. No, that sounds like a great book.
It's everybody, if you're anywhere near 40 or on either almost 40 or you passed it a little bit, you need to read that book. It talks about the difference between success and significance. And being an Alabama fan, I know this. This last national championship, we were leading in the first half, but it doesn't matter how many points you score in the first half. You can't win a game till you get in the second half.
Yeah.
And you can't get into the second half without having halftime. And that halftime is where you look at everything, and it's just probably the greatest book that I've read for folks that are trying to get from the first half of their ministry to the second half.
That is so good.
And how to walk in the significance. And,
so good.
I care more about legacy than I ever have in my life. This isn't a time for me to build, but to duplicate and to leave the legacy God wants me to focus on. So
that's so good. So good. One of the things you said too is to make sure you take your vacation. I think that's so important. I also think we've got to take a Sabbath. Like that idea of weekly Sabbath is such an important aspect to longevity, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I get 2 days off every week.
Yeah.
I book podcasts, coaching calls, all those things on Friday. That's Jim Wideman Ministries Day. Saturday, I book nothing. It's my Sabbath. It's time that, I might keep a grandkid, but that's
right.
That's restful too. So it's one of those things that we have a Sabbath. And also when you think you can't take time off, take a day or two, do something fun. What helps in longevity is how you manage stress.
Yep.
And, for some people it's hitting a golf ball. For me, it's playing the guitar, hanging out at the music store. Thank God I'm in Nashville.
Right. Good place for that.
And so it's one of those things that you got to find something to help you manage and release stress.
It's good. Well, man, we're coming to the end of our time. I want to have you on again. I think that I just
we didn't even go over the questions you sent me.
I know. We're gonna have to go in and do it again next time. Yeah. I would love to have you on again. What's a final thought you'd love to leave leaders with today?
I think the most thing is one of the things that bother me where I see children's ministry today is, the one thing I've heard is, how do you get folks to come back from COVID? And I think the question is, what did you do wrong that you should have done to keep them? Because if we had another shutdown, most leaders I know would do the exact same thing they've done because they had to come out with a plan. I know for our church, we took that little out telegram and was able to build all these volunteer teams, have their own telegram. We were on there daily. I still had worker meetings during the shutdown. Instead of having a pizza party at the church, we sent everybody a coupon to get a pizza. We got on Zoom and ate it together and talked about things. And we still built. We actually gained workers.
Wow!
Because we had a plan during the shutdown. And that's the thing is, what do you wish you had done, or what caused a lack of not communication, praying to get, I mean, we were praying as volunteer teams every day.
Wow.
And had that. So to me, that's the thing that, in this season that God's called you to, and what you're in, what are you doing to keep that from happening again?
So good. And we're not defeated. Like, this is not a time to be defeated. This is a time where, man, the light can shine the brightest. And I think I want to encourage leaders and volunteers, like, hey, like, this is our time. So, and I think those questions are so very good. Will you pray for the leaders as we go out today?
Yeah. Father, thank you for everyone that's listening. Thank you for everyone that is serving you, serving the next generation. And Lord, I just pray for wisdom, first of all, for them, that they would draw near to Holy Spirit, to listen to Him. Lord, help them. You said in your word that you would direct our steps. So Lord, help us to think in steps, not just leaps and jumps. And Lord, I thank you that we're your sheep. You're our shepherd. The sheep know the shepherd's voice. The voice of a stranger we won't hear. And Lord, I ask you to just guide us to not do what thus saith the seminar speaker says.
Yeah.
But Lord, may we line up with your word, know your voice, follow your voice, and lead these precious children and families to where you desire them to be for every single church. And Lord, I just thank you for our time today.
Yes.
And thank you for how good you are. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Jim, thank you so much for all you've done.
Hey, thanks, Jason.
Yep. It has been so great. And thank you for the generations that you have led and just your training and equipping and all that you poured out to all of the leaders. I'm one of the guys that received from you, and I so appreciate it. And can't wait to see what God does in the future, staying green. And
it's fun.
Fresh fruit. So thank you so much, Jim. Have a great day.
All right. Thanks.
All right,
see you later.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Hey, everybody, what an incredible interview. Thank you, Jim, for pouring into our lives. Thank you for staying with us and joining us for today's interview. Hey, I want to tell you about another sponsor. I so believe in the power of going to conferences and connecting with other leaders, and there's a great opportunity coming up this fall called MegaCon. Kids Matter puts on MegaCon every year in Nashville, Tennessee. This year, it's October 3rd through the 6th, and I want to encourage you to go. MegaCon is the Children's Ministry Leaders Conference. For 3 days, children's ministry leaders, paid or volunteer, small church to mega, will be challenged to grow, make new friends, discover new resources, and be reminded of their calling. Don't miss challenging main sessions with over 180 breakouts on all things kids ministry. I hope that you're planning to attend. Put it on your calendar now. You can get a special Kidman Tribe discount just for listening and being a part of the tribe on your ticket to MegaCon. Use promo code 1230media at checkout to get $50 off your MegaCon conference ticket at MegaCon 2022. That's MegaCon2022.com. I can't wait to see you there.
We would love to hear from you. What are some of the thoughts, questions, ideas you would like to hear more about? You can submit your thoughts and questions to thekidmantribe.com/mailbag. And be sure to share this podcast with everyone you know.
Hey everyone, thanks again for joining us today. I am so thankful for the Kidman Tribe, for the leaders and people that are a part of what's happening here. Hey, do me a favor. We want to share this with everyone we know. This fall, we have a great lineup of incredible guests. You're not going to want to miss a single episode. We come out every other week. So go and subscribe right now to the Kidman Tribe podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, wherever you watch your video. Like, subscribe to our channel, leave some comments, help us to move up in the rankings. Please also share this with everyone you know. Share it to your Facebook, your social media. I would be so grateful if the podcast is blessing you. Help me get the word out, because I want to bless other children's leaders. Hey, also make sure you leave a comment. We want to hear what you're thinking and kind of what God's speaking to you about. You can also find us online at kidmantribe.com. That's kidmantribe.com, where we have a bi-weekly blog, and then all of our episodes of the Kidman Tribe podcast are housed there. We also have some great kids ministry swag. Man, build the tribe at your church. Give them some great gifts and some swag. You can get it right there on the website. Thank you again for being a part of our podcast. You help us shape the future. So please, if you have thoughts, comments, questions, send it to our mailbag at thekidmantribe.com. Choose mailbag, share your thoughts, your comments, your topics, anything you want us to know, anything you want us to talk about, we're here. Okay, so in 2 weeks, I'm excited to welcome another kids ministry veteran. In fact, he's the founder of Kids Matter. He's also the host of the whole MegaCon conference, Ryan Frank. He's going to be talking to us about the importance of volunteers, how to recruit, how to keep. It is a fascinating, great discussion, and sharing a little bit more about MegaCon. So, hey, I'm excited to welcome Ryan Frank. He has a big heart for Kidman leaders. He's the creator and CEO of Kids Matter. Kids Matter publishes a leading children's ministry magazine, and really a magazine in general, has an online school called Kidman Academy for children's leaders who want to get a certificate in children's ministry, then also hosts a conference, which is MegaCon, every year with 2,200 or more children's leaders gathering together to learn all things kids ministry. He's an author, an entrepreneur, and has been a children's pastor in the past for 15 years. Ryan has been married to his wife, Beth. Together they have 3 girls. You are not going to want to miss this great discussion. That's in 2 weeks. So plan on joining us. Join the podcast, bring your team on to really talk about volunteers and how we recruit, how we keep, and really some things even to help in self-leadership, in your leadership, to avoid being burned out. In the meantime, go and reach kids in your world with experiences that transform their lives. Thank you again for joining me on this podcast. Thanks for being a part of this big family we call the Kidman Tribe. You're loved, you're appreciated, and what you do changes lives for eternity. I'm your biggest fan, and I'm always cheering you on. You're making a difference. You're my heroes. Go get them, Tribe. I'll catch you in 2 weeks.
The Kidman Tribe podcast is a production of 1230 Kids. For show notes, archive episodes, and more free resources for your kids' ministry, visit kidmantribe.com.